Section 2. You will hear the Human Resources Manager talking to new employees about the rules in the workplace. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Hello and welcome. I'm going to give you a brief induction to working with us at Compass Construction. First, I'll be covering basic health and safety requirements. Next, information about timesheets and pay, and some guidelines around workplace behavior and dress codes. Finally, I'll finish by explaining our emergency procedures. Right, health and safety. As your employer, we have an obligation to take all reasonable steps to ensure your safety at work. This is our responsibility by law, and we take it very seriously. But you also have responsibility for your own safety. That means you're required to follow safety requirements and keep yourself and others safe. Employees who fail to do so will receive formal warnings. So, what happens in the unlikely event that you or someone else is hurt or almost hurt at work? Report it. A serious accident? Report it. Stub your toe? Report it. We also require employees to report near misses. A near miss being a fancy way of saying an accident waiting to happen. Almost slipping on a wet floor, for example. It's important to report near misses because if you don't, someone could get hurt next time round. So, the incident report forms are kept at reception. Linda will show you how these need to be filled in and filed. If you're unable to attend work for any reason, we ask that you give us at least 4 hours notice before your shift begins. But of course, the more notice we get, the better. Now, you'll be working with us on a part-time basis, so you'll have to fill out a timesheet each week. You need to complete this daily. Then, at the end of the week, ask your supervisor to sign it and email a copy to your manager by 5 p.m. on Friday.
Before you hear the rest of the talk, you have some time to look at questions 15 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 15 to 20.
Right, next. Accepted standards of behavior. It may seem obvious, but work isn't the place for silly behavior. In our industry, we can't have people fooling around, especially with the equipment and machinery we have here on site. It's too easy for something to go wrong. There's also no place for swearing, bullying, or harassment at work. So if you're at all concerned at any time, please talk directly to your manager about this. Finally, what to do if there's a disaster of some sort. Dress codes first. Like all our office employees, you need to wear the standard white shirt with the company logo. You'll be provided with 2 of these. You wear your own trousers or skirt, which must be black, tidy, and smart. No jeans, and always black. In your role, you'll mostly be on reception. However, you may occasionally be asked to do something that requires you to go into the workshop area. In that case, you'll need to be decked out in proper PPE, personal protective equipment. Steel-capped boots, a vest, and, depending on what you're doing, gloves and a hard hat. The gloves are needed for any task that requires contact with dangerous chemicals, for instance. All the PPE is kept in the room before the workshop, which we passed through earlier. Right, now finally, if there's a fire or other disaster and the fire alarm sounds, You need to leave immediately. Don't try to go out the glass doors because they're automatic and may not be operating. The fire exit is through the door to the right of the main glass doors. When you exit, leave everything behind, including your bag, keys, and phone. People often fumble around wasting precious time when there just isn't time for that. So it's a company policy to take yourself to safety and nothing else. Once you exit the building, you need to make your way to the nearest assembly point, which from reception is just over there in front of the big oak tree in the car park. We have drills every 6 months, so that will give you a chance to go through the drill. The last one was in January, I think, so the next one will be in a couple of weeks, early June, I believe. So that's my presentation. I know there's a lot to take in, but look, if there's something you don't understand, just ask. Everyone expects new people to ask questions, so don't be shy. Ask away. Right, I'll take a few questions now, and then I'm going to hand you over to Steve, who will give you an overview of the company's hazard management plan. Although you're working on reception, which should be relatively free of hazards, you need to know the process for identifying something that could cause harm. That is, if you notice a hazard in the workshop or office areas. So, any questions on what we've covered so far?
That is the end of section 2. You now have half a minute to check your answers. Now turn to section 3. Section 2. You will hear the Human Resources Manager talking to new employees about the rules in the workplace. First, you have some time to look at questions 11 to 14. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 14.
Hello and welcome. I'm going to give you a brief induction to working with us at Compass Construction. First, I'll be covering basic health and safety requirements. Next, information about timesheets and pay, and some guidelines around workplace behavior and dress codes. Finally, I'll finish by explaining